Hey ladies, I can't tell you what it means that you come here every single week and listen to the podcast. Would you do me a favor? If you're listening on Apple, head down to the review section, leave a star review, and if you leave a written review and your review is shared here on the podcast, I'm sending you a thank you gift. The Morning Motivation Journal right to your doorstep, so you can start every day with motivation, gratitude, energy, nourishment, and set priorities for the day. Pause now, head down, leave a review. Thanks in advance. Hey ladies, welcome to episode 72 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. I love sitcoms. I think you probably know that by now, unless you're brand new. I love talking about sitcoms, watching sitcoms. That's probably one of my favorite pastimes. It's no wonder this episode is inspired by a sitcom. Yeah, I want to talk about something from The Office, and it's what I believe is the best question Michael Scott ever asked. Are you ready? All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast with certified life coach, mom of four, and just all-around lover of all things 80s, your host, Jennifer D'Amato. Buckle in. Let's get started.
Now, I'm really sad that I can't direct you to Netflix to go watch this episode, and it's just a bummer. I will say, knowing it was going off, my husband got me the entire series on Apple TV as a Christmas gift. I mean, does that man know my heart? Yes, sitcoms can be a love language, and he knows mine. I love The Office. I've probably watched it 6 times all the way through. And when I say watched it, I mean, sometimes it's just on in the background and I'm doing dishes, cleaning the kitchen, watched it. It's on. I'm not like glued to the television. You know, after that first time, maybe a little into the second of watching a sitcom series, like I'm just not fully there, but there's something about rewatching these shows. There's a level of comfort that comes. Maybe you've experienced that before. You know, people ask me all the time, how many times I watch the series Friends. And I'm telling you right now, it's got to be in the double digits. I stopped even counting a long time ago. I do have the box set of that as well. Another gift my husband got me years ago. I find comfort in watching these shows again and again. I recently had a conversation with someone about this, and he experiences the same thing I do. It's not really nostalgia, it's comfort. It's not having to predict things that are coming or know what's going to happen. You don't really have to, again, even pay attention when they're on, they're on in the background or you have them on again and you're even watching it. There's something about knowing what's already going to happen. I do listen to the podcast about The Office with Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey. I mean, I do love The Office. It was one of those ones I never watched when it was on. I only watched it when it went on Netflix. Now you can still catch it. I believe they put it on Peacock, or you can just purchase it like my hubby did. Most people I talk to who try to watch the pilot are so turned off. Like, we even convinced my parents during the initial like quarantine and lockdown, to watch it. And they, like almost everyone I know, were cringing through that pilot, that first season, that handful of episodes. And I just kept telling them, like, I promise you, if you can make it through the pilot, and then if you can make it through season 1, you are hooked. Like, you're so hooked. It's true. So if you're one of those people that you're like, that show just seems awful, get through those first handful of episodes, and then I believe you'll fall in love. I actually want to skip ahead to the episode that inspired this podcast episode. Michael Scott said a whole lot of things through his time on The Office. I mean, when I shared with my own daughters who've seen The Office, that I was using a quote from Michael Scott, I mean, they were literally listing quote after quote. No, I'm not using "that's what she said." Though we probably could devote a podcast episode just to him saying that. But that's really just gonna be me laughing the whole time. No, this one actually is season 7. It's episode 5 called The Sting. If you are an Office watcher, you might remember this one when the very handsome Danny Cordray shows up. He is this competitor salesman, and they pull this sting on him to try to find out his secrets. Why is he so good at selling? He's like this one-man show. And they have this elaborate, though terrible plan. Meredith ruins it all. Danny figures it out. And then there's this conversation toward the end between Michael Scott and Danny Cordray. And it's in this space that Michael asks the question that I really spent some time thinking about. Here's what it is. Now, I'm not allowed to play the audio clip for you. You're going to have to go find it. But word for word, Michael says, "Do you want your life to be better or to be worse or to stay the same?" This is a question he poses twice in this episode. You're going to hear it again about 4 minutes or so from the first time he asked Danny, and he actually poses this to his own salesman. Danny's response is like as quickly as he can get it out is, "I want it to be better." He didn't question it. He just knew, I want it to be better from where it is right now. He actually, what's interesting is if you go back, he asked the question again. And for Michael, he equates being better with more freedom, being worse with less freedom. He asked the question again, like I said, to his own salesman. They're standing in his office and he asked them, do you want your life to be better, worse, or stay the same? He's a little shortened, not as poignant with it with his own salesman. And immediately they respond and say, stay the same. I wonder, how often do you ask yourself this question? How often do you take an inventory of your life, where you are right now, and ask yourself, do I want my life to be better than it is right now? Do I want it to be worse? I mean, come on. No one's saying I want it to be worse. Or do you want it to stay the same? What do you want for your life right now? And there's nothing wrong with the salesman answering stay the same. Inherently, there's nothing wrong, right? They're content where their life is. They don't want a big shakeup. They don't want to go into an unknown. You know what happens when you say, I want my life to be better? Something has to change. Maybe you have to sacrifice something. Maybe you're giving up something. Maybe you have to move. Maybe you have to separate from something to get better. I actually believe they all knew this. They knew that to get better, something would have to change, and they weren't ready. What I love about that character, Danny, coming in is without hesitation, he knew, I want it to be better. I want more. And if that means leaving the comfort of the job he was in, working for crazy Michael Scott, he was willing to step into what was better. Sometimes better is completely unknown. We kind of can see maybe the point. Like we can say, I see point B, but I have no idea what point A to point B looks like. So I'm just going to stay at point A. I'm not going to move at all. So what if you ask yourself right here, right now, this question? Do I want my life to be better? You can just ask, do I want it to be worse? Is there something, I want to go backwards? Or do you want it to stay the same? So maybe we're really just going to ask the two. Do you want your life to be better or do you want it to stay the same? You actually, in this question, are completely empowered to choose either. You don't have to move. You don't have to shift or change at all. The power is yours. But I believe we're missing asking the question. And we're not asking the question because of what it takes to go from stay the same to better. I've lived in the stay the same. I've I've been stuck. Like that's the word I used. Like I'm stuck and I can't seem to go any further. It's actually because when I started seeing what it was going to take for things to be better, for things to change, for things to improve, the road did not seem inviting. Like there were kind of those danger signs coming up, warning, warning. I didn't want to enter into unknown terrain. I was scared. I mean, how often has fear, real or not real, fear stopped you from taking that path to better? How often has fear, whether it's real fears or made up in our thoughts kind of fear, stopped you from getting even on the path? And you're like, I'm just staying where I am. Maybe it's not you, but you've met someone who's stuck and they're just in that place of, I'm just going to stay in the safety of staying the same. It's like they have a desire. They express maybe there's something better, but I can't go there. I'm too afraid of what is out there on the path, the place between point A and point B. Like, I like the idea of point B. I like the idea of things being better, but point A is safer because that space in between scares the snot out of me. I've talked about this before. Are we letting love or abundance fuel us, or is fear? If you never caught that episode, I'm going to link that in the show notes. What is dictating how you respond? Whether it's to other people, yes, I was talking a lot about that, but how you respond to this question. Do you want your life to be better or stay the same? Is abundance and love for self fueling it? Or is fear the big deciding factor if you move or not? I know there's a lot of people who are in the camp of Michael Scott is, a terrible boss. He's such an idiot. But when you actually go back and look at some of these key points, he was spot on. That question got me in a rewatch. Maybe time number 6, 7. I don't know. One of those times rewatching it, something stood out to me. See, there's another benefit of putting these shows on. There's going to be this nugget. Somebody wrote that question in. What if we ask this question? What if Michael Scott's not an idiot, but a genius in thinking, hey, you can have more? I believe he asked himself this question. And that actually is the beauty of Michael Scott. He didn't want his life to stay the same. And when he lived in that space, which I do believe maybe at the beginning we saw him content where he was, but when he woke up to, I actually want things to be better, is when he made shifts and changes for himself. He got bolder. He asked for things. He stepped away from relationships. You saw him living this question out. His path from A to B wasn't pretty and made for great comedy, but he chose to step into it. So before the rest of your day is gone, before you even end this podcast, ask yourself this question. Do I want my life to be better? And maybe you want to equate it to freedom like Michael did, but maybe not. Maybe it's just you want to see shifts and changes and move forward. Or do you want it to stay the same? You are empowered to stay right where you are or to move. And actually, I believe there is beauty in being completely content where you are right now. It doesn't mean you're closed off to moving forward, to things changing, shifting, getting better, having more freedom, whatever that point B looks like. You just know for right now where you are is the perfect place. There's beauty in that as well. But why not ask the question? Why not have that be a reminder you put into your phone every 3 months, every 6 months just to ask yourself again, do I want my life to be better than it is today, right now, where I am? Or do I want to stay the same? See what comes up for you. And usually that initial thought, that just like the actors, right, that they spit it out immediately, all of them, whichever side they were on. Danny was get better. The office employees was stay the same without question. That's what they wanted. That's the truest answer. And then see from there, maybe you just need a higher level of gratitude for where you are and just hold appreciation and space for that. Or maybe it's time for some change. Maybe it's time to step out on the path between point A and point B, no matter what it brings. You may never watch The Office the same again. Maybe you'll have a new appreciation for Michael Scott. Either way, I hope that this brought up something inside of you and triggered some new thoughts and created a space of curiosity within yourself. All right, until next week, ladies.